Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voice Like a Lion podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Pemberton, and today I have with us Becky Hopkins. She is the managing director of Digital Gearbox, where they are the paid ads agency for ambitious businesses, averaging a 10x ROAS, which is just insanity. And yes, they do all the ads: Meta, LinkedIn, Google, Amazon, TikTok, even Microsoft. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Stephen.
So, first and foremost, what's a Microsoft ad? Can you tell me what that is?
It's just Bing ads. Bing ads.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, that makes sense.
nothing clever. Microsoft Bing.
Okay. Because I saw Microsoft and I went, Microsoft has ads? It's like, this is crazy. I'm about to learn something completely brand new.
I think people forget that Microsoft own Bing, and in the platform, it's officially Microsoft ads, which is why we've gone with that term. But it is, yeah, just Bing ads.
Ah. So I think that that's really interesting because I've never run into anyone running Bing ads. So with you guys running Bing ads, what does that look like? I mean, as far as comparatively, if I'm running ads, let's say on Google, and I'm doing Google search, and then I'm running Bing search, what have you noticed? Is it easier with Bing? Is it harder? Is there more competition, less competition? What does that look like for you guys?
Oh, good question. It varies by client and industry, to be honest with you. In terms of what it actually looks like, it looks exactly the same as Google.
Oh,
In
wow.
terms of the interface and the settings, you can directly import your campaigns, all your settings from Google Ads. So they make it super
Wow.
simple to just click a few buttons and it will pull everything from your Google Ads account into your Microsoft Ads account. Which in theory time saving is great, but actually it's quite dangerous because these are two different platforms with different
Mm,
audiences. So it's not necessarily the best idea to just do that, because you want to be setting up those campaigns bearing in mind that the demographics typically of people using Bing tend to be either older people, and also more professionals quite often, because obviously anyone using Microsoft Office programs, they try to get you to use that Bing
hmm
search engine rather than Google. And it's interesting with kind of all the Copilot stuff that not Google, sorry, Microsoft is pushing now. People are using that to search, and that inherently goes through Bing, and people just don't realize half the time when they're using Bing. I've had clients who we've actually ran Bing ads for go to Google to look for their Bing ads, and they've not realized that they're actually on Google and not Bing. So people just don't realize the difference between the two platforms because they are so similar in both the front end and the back end.
I think that's so. I have a question because I know that you guys do LinkedIn ads as well. This is something I've dipped my toe into, but this is definitely not the one I've done the most work in. So, but from my understanding, because we do a lot of outreach for our business through LinkedIn, and usually these are older people, more professional. Sounds very similar to what you would find on Bing. So, have you guys, when you're running LinkedIn ads, let's say that we are running LinkedIn ads and I come to you guys, I'm running LinkedIn ads. It's to an older demographic. They're more professional demographic, the way I've set up my campaign.
Mhm.
Would you be able to basically cross pollinate, take a lot of those same assets and take it to Bing, or would you want to redo how those assets look when I go to Bing?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn and Bing are inherently different. Like when you're on LinkedIn, you're there to connect with people, you're there to do business. Whereas people on Bing, they're looking for information. So I think you do need different assets. In terms of the targeting setup, you can actually use some of the LinkedIn targeting on Bing, which is a unique feature to Bing that Google doesn't have. So you can target people using it's free of the criteria. You're testing me now, but I think it's the industry, the function, and it's one other that escapes me right now. But you can use those targeting criteria to target people on essentially Bing's version of the display network, which is MSM, and Outlook, basically, as the big ones. Um, but yeah, you do want to use different assets. You do want to think about it in its own right. They are different places.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That so because for us, we work with a lot of e-commerce, but I've been in a lot of different industries, worked with a lot of different businesses, and typically I will see people, and I imagine to a certain degree, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is I would imagine for you guys that it's a lot of people running Google ads or they're running Facebook ads, and when they come to you, you guys are either ratcheting that up, making it a lot better, or you're saying, hey, you guys are doing pretty well here, but we should think about expanding. So if somebody is, let's just say they're an e-commerce brand, how do you help them pick what channel to expand into?
So yeah, you're right. We tend to take over existing Google Ads accounts, and we always prioritize making Google better. It is the number one platform that people will go to search for things, so that's always our starting point. Then in terms of looking at the other opportunities, we tend to look in Google Analytics to see where their organic traffic is coming from. If they're getting great conversion rates organically from Facebook, then we go over to Meta and Meta advertising first. Bing, Microsoft Ads, that's one. If you're getting good conversion rates again organically, we'd suggest rolling out to Microsoft Ads. But at the same time, it might just be that you're not getting enough traffic because you're not paying for the ads there. So again,
Yeah.
if you're getting killer results on Google and you've got the budget to dip a little bit of testing into Bing ads, then we suggest giving it a go there. It's far less competitive. So sometimes actually people that aren't doing so great on Google can get much better results on Bing because there's less people using it. So it's always worth a try if you're getting any kind of success with Google Ads. Unless there's any reason that if you've done a bit of competitor research and you do see all your competitors are on there and you're struggling on Google, then maybe Bing isn't the one. If people aren't searching for what you offer, then you might want to look at the social side of things, because if they're not searching for you, then you need to try that awareness piece and pushing out to specific audiences.
That's a really good point. I think that I didn't even realize that you could run Microsoft ads and it would show up in Outlook. I mean, now that you said it, it's like blatantly obvious because I use Outlook, and to a certain degree, I use Google Calendar, Google Gmail, all that stuff. But really, my emails, they all flow through Outlook. And there's been times I've gotten ads on there, and I'm like, how do they do that? And now I know. I learned something.
Now you know. I taught you something.
You did. You taught me something for real. So I know we've gone kind of deeper, more on the technical side. You've been doing this for over 11 years. So how did you get into this industry?
I'm going to try and narrow it down because it's quite long and boring. I've always been interested in marketing before I even knew what it was. My dad worked with computers when that was a thing you'd say. I work with computers. So I've always kind of had a computer in my house when I was growing up. I liked playing on Microsoft Publisher. I liked making websites. Yeah, I like the creative side of things, but I'm also terrible with a pen and pencil and I can't draw. So I knew that I wanted to be creative, use digitally. And I saw adverts in magazines, and I knew I had an understanding of advertising, and thought I'd eventually go down that route. But I actually did psychology at uni. I didn't really know where to go after that. I knew I didn't want to be a psychologist, but I was really interested in consumer behavior. Um, and I fell into a business development role to begin with, a large corporation, and that gave me a really good introduction to kind of the world of commercial business, different departments, and it made me interested in sales and actually helping people to get money essentially. And there was basically an opportunity in the marketing department for me to cover a maternity position, but that was actually in email marketing. So that's where I entered the world of marketing, email marketing. I was promoting really tiny plastic components, things that you don't even know exist, like plastic screws, little inserts. And I did that for 5 years. I was sending out emails about little plastic components. And in different language, in 14 different languages. And it was a
Well,
fantastic introduction to the world of marketing because I was dealing with international campaigns. I was dealing with a really boring product and having to sell it. But yeah, I just, again, was working with so many different business units. I had a really good understanding of the commercial aspect of marketing as well. And I actually got to work with my sales colleagues as well quite closely because of my introduction there. But anyway, sorry, I said I'd make this a shorter story.
hey,
It
love it.
I got bored of emails and plastic after 5 years, and I had an opportunity to join an agency who did email marketing, but they also did pay-per-click and affiliate marketing. And actually, that agency was owned by Chloe Thomas, who you interviewed
Oh,
not too
wow.
long ago.
Wow.
So it's a small world. So yeah, Chloe was my boss, and actually, the agency that I own now was Chloe's old agency. So I took that over, and we niched in on pay-per-click, and that's kind of how we got to where we are now.
Huh. I didn't expect that. Like, that's such a twist. That was a twist in the story that I wasn't expecting. Incredible. That could
There
be a
we go.
Marvel movie or something. But
Could be.
because that,
Unmasked.
yeah, I never expected that. That's because when I was talking to her, I did have her on the podcast and she mentioned it. And
Yeah.
then with you saying that, it's like, oh yeah, because she doesn't do that now. It's like, oh wow,
No.
that's honestly really incredible. I'm trying to figure out where to go from there because I wasn't expecting this big, reveal at the end. You're one of the first people that's had me on my toes because I usually don't have some kind of big reveal in that way. So let's see, where do I want to go from here? So one great place I would love to go from here is one of the things I even mentioned in the introduction was averaging a 10x ROAS. I had a gentleman, his podcast has not come out yet. His episode will come out 2 weeks, next week. And with his, he does about $100 million in ad spend a year, all in meta ads that he just manages a bunch of accounts. He also has a $30 million e-commerce brand. So I was just like, okay, this guy's, doing everything. And when I was talking to him, I've talked to many other people. I've run ads of my own, done it for multiple different size brands. ROAS is one of these things, right? So, and I think that each type of marketer, each agency, they have almost their own way to go about it to drive that number. So, what have you seen to be some of the best metrics to look at outside of just that one big return on ad spend that actually directly impacts return on ad spend?
Oh, good question. You have to look at so many things, really. I know it's a really fluffy answer, but so many people like to get ROAS is fairly simple. I mean, you focus on the bottom of the funnel, you focus on what's working, and you do more of it as much as possible. So a lot of the time when we take over accounts, there'll be lots of ways to spend on things that just aren't converting, and you can just trim all that off and very quickly bring up ROAS. But there's a big but. Sometimes that's not always the best strategy, because some of those things that you're spending that money on are really good for the brand awareness piece. And without people coming into the funnel, then ultimately that lifetime value is just going to start dropping. So we try to look at kind of a longer term picture. We try to encourage our clients to do the same, which can be quite challenging because quite often, I'm sure you get it, people come, they want as much money as possible straight away for as little cost, which
Yep.
we all do.
We all do. Yeah.
We all do. But if people aren't finding you to begin with, ultimately a couple of years down the line, that's when you start to see the sales numbers drop, and that's when the penny drops for them. So yeah, we do try and look long term at kind of just general conversion numbers, and that sometimes does include some of the softer conversion metrics depending on the client. We do look at things like add to basket conversions. We do look at where the drop off is. We do look at conversion rates. To some degree, we do look at the traffic as well. I mean, I know clicks and impressions are vanity metrics to some degree, but at the same time, if the traffic starts to drop and the sales starts to drop, then you need to go back and look at the traffic. So yeah, there's so many things to look at. The website conversion rates overall, the landing page conversion rates overall. Yeah, I love data, but there is also an
Me too.
overwhelming amount of data to go and get stuck into, which can be a real
Yep.
challenge for us marketers.
Yes. I think that that's a great point. This is a conversation I was having with a client yesterday. So with this client is when I first came on board, he was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. He has great authority pieces, all these things, awesome testimonials. And I told him, I said, look, bringing us in to run your ads is probably not the best thing. I said, probably the best thing would be for you to take this money and go work on this website. This website is atrocious. Mm-hmm. And he went, yeah, but I'd rather you just run my ads. And I went, okay. And so I came in and I started working with him, and then immediately he starts getting sales. And the thing was, I went, yeah, you're going to get sales. It's like, but it's not going to sustain long term. It's like, so he was sitting there, he's like, well, why is it not sustaining long term? Why do you think it's going to be that? I said, because your website's awful. Mm-hmm. It's like what you're expecting out of us is almost like a flash in the pan, where you're expecting this magic pill where Facebook ads is going to be the thing that's just going to drive high revenue numbers and great profit margins. It's like, that's not realistic. Mm-hmm. It's like, because the thing is, there's two different kinds of ads that I've seen. Is you have a prospecting ad, so this is an ad going out, like you said, brand awareness, where it's interacting with people so they can get to know you even exist. It's like most people don't even know you exist right now. It's like then the other one is it's just speaking to the people that now know you exist. And I said, so it takes a certain amount of your ad spend just to go find these people. And just because it found them and I go, oh, that's interesting, I click on the ad, doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. And that's what I've seen, and that's what he's seen. And I told him, I said, hey, look, I told you this before we got started. I said, take your assets, take your money, everything, and go work on these things. Because usually for us, is we're more on the strategy side. We enjoy the strategy overall. How do you look at the business as a whole? Because that's one of the big things. It's that we've noticed, especially when we work with agency partners, is if you are doing paid marketing and you come to the founder, the CEO, the CMO, depending on the size of the brand, and you tell them, "Hey, here's our findings. You guys need a couple things. You need email marketing. You're not doing it." So when they do add it to cart, like it just disappears. They get one email that says, "Hey, first name," and it doesn't even actually change it because you guys have it tagged wrong. So it literally just says, "Hey, first name. You left this in your cart." And that's it. And so you're expecting that the ads are going to cover your bases when realistically there's a lot more that goes into it to drive that number. And that's just one of the big things I've noticed is like when we start being able to do that, to talk to the agencies, talk to the brands, it's like you guys have more things than just, well, I put $1 in, I should get $20 out. It's like if you can do that every single time with a terrible website, please come on this podcast and let me know how you're doing that consistently and at scale. Maybe you can do that for one campaign, but how do you do that at scale? How do you, if you're doing that for $10 in ad spend, or can you do it for 100? Can you do it for $1,000 a day? Can you do it for $10,000 a day? If you can, that's where I get really interested, is when you're starting to scale ad spend, because usually as you scale, the cost to acquire a customer starts going up and it starts costing more across the board. Like your metrics get a little bit worse because you're starting to impact and hit more people. Has that been your experience as you guys start to scale ad spend, where the metrics begin to basically level out instead of just being like, wow, I've spent $10 and made $1,000 today? It's like, yeah, but now you're spending $1,000 a day. Maybe you're not making $10,000 a day.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely that curve where it just starts to get diminishing returns, and we have a lot of clients that push us all the time. They're like, just spend more, just spend more, you can get more sales, and we have to tell them that it's just not possible. There's only X amount of relevant things in our existing targeting. To increase volume at a certain point, you need to look at new channels, new routes to reach those people, and ultimately it is going to be widening out the targeting to people that aren't aware of you, and it is going to be investing more in that prospecting activity, which doesn't have the same returns, which
Mm-hmm.
is always very challenging because you know it is going to impact that lovely ROAS figure.
There's a client that I worked with last year where we came in and we were consulting with them. And the first thing I did was I came in and just cut $3,000 in ad spend immediately. And they did not like that. And I said, you're at a 1.01 return on ad spend. I said, you're losing money. Like, I want you to understand that if this thing's at a 1, you're not breaking even. I said, with your cost of goods and everything else included in this, you're losing money every single month in the thousands of dollars. It's like, I'm actually saving you money. And they were just like, yeah, but our revenue's going down. It's like, but your profit margins are actually getting better. It's like, I want you to understand that is your profit margins are actually better right now. You're actually going to have more money that shows up in your account. It's like, well, we got to, it's like, but the thing that most people don't realize is that what got you to $40,000 a month in total revenue is not going to get you to $100,000 a month if you're only doing it through one paid channel and your paid channel is barely breaking even. You're actually growing yourself to death, and that's a slow death. And most brands, and I would love to hear your perspective on this, but what I've seen with smaller brands is that, let's say they're very meta heavy, so they're just spending a ton of money in meta ad spend to get them from zero to $100,000 a month. Now all of a sudden they have their cost to acquire customers sky high. They're making a little bit of profit. Now their profit margin is like 9-10%. They think, well, I just got to add more ad spend here. And now they're just like eating into their profit margins. And eventually they're going to actually, one big problem happens, one, massive chargeback, something, their payment processor goes down, and now they're out of business. And that's unfortunate. But have you ever seen anything similar to that, or am I completely off?
No, I think it's the same with Google and Meta. Like, there's always something that can knock out what's working well at any time for you, for businesses. And that could be new competition, that can be just a change in the market, it can be a change in the weather, it can be all kinds of things. And I think one of the biggest mistake, well, too many businesses just don't know their numbers. So they don't think about the profit margins, like you were saying. They don't know what number is actually acceptable to get a conversion at. And because they don't know their numbers, they don't give us as marketers that information to work with. Like, I quite often I just get as much as possible, get as many sales as possible, get as much revenue as possible. Whereas actually knowing, okay, what is the maximum amount we can pay per product to get a sale for it to still be profitable for you, to make it worthwhile, then we can reverse engineer all the campaigns to work towards that. And of course, ideally, we're going to get as much as possible because we like to see nice, shiny results. We like to see ROAS. But without knowing what is break even,
Mm-hmm.
what is worthwhile, you can't make those optimization decisions, and you can't see what's failing and what's actually succeeding.
Yeah. So with you guys, let's say, I'll just give you an example. I would love to know how you would respond to this. So let's say I'm a brand owner and I'm selling something and it's $30. So, but my lifetime value on a customer is $200. So what would you say would be my break even to acquire a customer on that?
Oh, you're testing my maths. I would, to break even on the 200. I mean, what are your costs?
Ooh, that's a great question. So they cost me, so for my $30 product, I only have one product. I'm a one SKU store, so I'm pretty easy. Is
Excellent.
with my one SKU it cost me $8 to make it. My all in COGS is $8.
Okay, so we've got $24.
Or we'll call it 10. There you
Yeah, I
go.
was
Makes it
gonna say
make it a
that.
little easier. Make it a little easier.
So we've got $20 per CPA to work with for that initial sale. But obviously there's the lifetime to factor in. I mean, the lifetime stuff is great to factor in when you've got a little bit more data. I would say you've got $20, sorry, to speak same numbers, to play with to begin with.
That makes sense. So let's say now same scenario, but
Yeah.
now I've been around for 4 years. I average 20,000 transactions. I'm still a one SKU store,
Okay.
so I have a lot more data now, and it's like all these 20,000 transactions. Let's say that out of those 20,000 transactions, half of them are return customers. So like
Okay.
my lifetime value is pretty high.
Yeah.
Now, would you change what my cost to acquire a customer is? And the only reason I'm asking is like my thought process would be is if they have good data and they know it's like, oh, consistently, if one out of two people spend 200, it's like out of everyone, when they buy something, they average $200 per their lifetime. And I have plenty of transaction data to prove that this is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
My thought process would be your cost to acquire a customer could be as high, it could be even over $30 because it's like, okay, your product cost is $30. It's like,
Yeah.
but if you get them in that first sale, you have this great customer journey that you're going to be able to take them up the value ladder, whatever else, or for some reason they just keep buying the same thing over and over and over again. You have a replenishable, and scientifically data driven that this is going to happen. You can actually spend over your initial buy-in
Absolutely.
cost.
Once you've got that data, but again, too many businesses don't invest in doing that
Very
analysis
true.
and knowing that number, so we rarely get it.
Yes.
Um, but it's so important. It makes advertising a whole different game when you have that information. And if you think that actually upping that target to $30, the amount you can scale some of those campaigns with that's a 50% increase. So yeah, it can make all the difference with scaling your business up if you have that information.
So for everyone listening, that's great information. Like this is something that I harp on quite a bit, but especially if you want to work with an agency, that if you want to give the agency partner the best chance to succeed, have good data,
Yeah.
bar none. And the thing is that agency partners are not magic in a bottle where they're just going to come in and change your entire business overnight if you don't have any analytics to give them. because they're in the dark, and it's going to take them time to be able to gather that data. So if you expect, well, in 90 days, my business is going to go from 100K to $500,000 a month, it's like, realistically, probably not. Unless if you're at 100K and you have tracked the entire process, like here is exactly when my customers come in, here's all of their pain points, here's the creatives that convert, here's the messaging that converts, I've applied that across the channel, I have this amazing email campaigns. It's like, unless you've got all your systems dialed in where all you need is somebody to come in and help you in the one area you're not great at, now that's where you can experience explosive growth. But that founder, at least from my experience, is like 0.001. That's super rare to find someone who is very data driven in their decision making, especially if they're under $1 million, because they're more emotional. It's like, hey, I have grinded this thing to get here, and I've done it by myself, or I have a very tiny team, and now here we are, and I'm just going to keep grinding until we get to 2 million, 5 million. It's like, there's a shift that happens if you truly want to grow, where now you have to become an ideas person. You have to be able to apply data to get the best results. So I have a question for you. What is a question that I did not ask you on the show that you wish I would have asked you?
Oh, hmm. I'm going to keep it in theme with things we discussed. What are your biggest pieces of advice to anyone working with an agency?
So what's your biggest piece of advice for anyone who wants to work with an agency?
There we go. Collaborate. We've touched on it already a little
Yep.
bit, but don't just outsource your marketing to agencies and expect it to work. You need to give them as much information as possible. You are the person that knows your product, your service more than anyone. Whilst the marketers that you're working with might know their craft a whole lot better than you, well, hopefully they do. That's why you're working with them.
Hopefully, yeah.
They will be able to bring much better returns for you if they know as much as possible about what you're happy to pay per lead, what your profit margins are, who your competitors are. Whilst we can research, there's always going to be things that we can't find online. Whilst there's things we can see from reviews that your customers are saying, you are the ones who've been there since day one and know exactly what customers love about your product and what they don't like as well, more importantly. I think obviously on websites, everyone's putting all the good stuff, but
Yeah.
they're not going to put the bad stuff. So if you tell your agency what people don't like as well, we can work with you and think about what pain points we can address and which ones we should avoid addressing in your ad copy. So yeah, just see it as a collaborative relationship as much as possible, and feedback on what you're seeing. Again, like going back to kind of the sales numbers, you get fixated on revenue and ROAS, whereas actually if the quality of the sales is dropping, if you're seeing your overall website sales drop but not your paid sales drop, it's interesting to know, because it could be that another channel has got quieter. You might need to invest in paid reach there as well. So overshare and collaborate would be my advice.
That's a great piece of advice. This is something that we talk about a lot with our consultancy. When we come in, usually when we're working with brands that are $5 million and above, they have multiple agencies and they've just siloed them. And when they silo them, there's no collaboration. So let's say that they have an email marketing agency and then they have a paid marketing agency. Let's say they brought you guys in and you guys are running. So you guys are doing a lot of this prospecting and you realize, hey, the best messaging is not, let's say it's a shoe brand. It's like, it's not how cool the shoe is, it's how comfortable the shoe is. And this is what we see is converting at a high rate. And this is our cost to acquire customer is really low. And the lifetime value is going up. The click-through rate's insane with this. But now you take this to the founder, the CMO, the CEO, and they go, okay, thanks. And then they never share it with the email team. So the email team's still talking about how cool the shoe is and why you should get it because it's so cool and it's a limited run and all these things. It's like, but now the customer journey is impacted. And this is what I wanted to add on to what you were saying is like the reason why collaboration, and more than just making it really easy for your agency partner and for you, is I've seen it that especially for the paid marketing agencies, is you guys have the best data to apply across the whole business. It's like, okay, you've realized you've tested different angles, you've tested different copy, different creatives, and you've found what is converting at the best rate. Maybe you should apply that, or split test at least of
Yep.
a homepage, a landing page, whatever it is, a product page, the checkout page, just doing these split tests so you can see it's like, oh, this is now you're going to see conversion rates go up, return on ad spend go up. If you have multiple agencies or internal team members, now you guys can all be working together and it's a unified strategy instead of like, wait, why are the emails talking about this when we aren't even running ads like that? It's like, why is the team changing the website to talk about something that neither of us are doing? It's like none of this makes sense. We're all disjointed. So yeah, I love that.
Good. I'm glad.
That's something that hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're looking to hire a paid marketing agency, Digital Gearbox is the one to go to. And with that being said, though, is make sure that you collaborate. Then be willing to listen to feedback and even being open handed. I would love to hear your perspective on this. Is like I noticed that there was a brand that we work with, and they said, well, no, this is exactly who we speak to. This is how we speak to them. This is their pain points, and I know it. We went and ran it and split tested theirs versus what our best assumption was, and our best assumption was better. And we came back to them and said, hey, this audience converts better. This person's more interested in what you have to say. This demographic is more interested. And they just said, no, we're not doing that. Like, we know our stuff. And it's like, but you're stuck. And you brought us in to get you unstuck. And so why are you not willing to listen to that?
Yeah, I've been there. But yeah, I think equally we have a lot of insights that we can, like you were saying, we can share back with businesses that we see. And like the search terms reports that we get, you see specific ways that people are searching for your products and people don't factor that into the copy on the landing page. And yeah, collaborate, and you will get good things.
Word of the day, collaborate. So, Becky, how do people connect with you? How do they connect with Digital Gearbox?
With me, probably best on LinkedIn. You can just search for me, Becky Hopkin, and Digital Gearbox, digitalgearbox.co.uk, and we're also at Digital Gearbox across the socials as well.
FYI, that's how I ran into Becky, was LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, Becky, to land the plane, metaphorically speaking, what's a funny story from your marketing career that you would love to share that's like, oh, I'll always find this pretty humorous when I share this story?
Oh gosh, a funny one. It's a slight. You put me on the spot there. There should be something funnier. I think the funniest things often come in the search terms reports that you see. Surprising search terms for very dull and boring clients, or disturbing as well. Again, I'm not sure it's funny, but yeah, we've had clients who worked in. One of them was pajamas for women. But like lacy pajamas, and we've had a lot of interesting searches specific to men looking for lacy pajamas, which were quite interesting. Also, we had animal feeders, and there was some very disturbing searches, as you can imagine, for animal feeders, which I won't say what they were, but yeah, just nothing that funny, but yeah, things that
But
make interesting in a dull spreadsheet.
No, I think that to me is funny because being
Yeah.
a marketer, those are those things, those angles you go, wait, why is that there? It's
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's like a subset of people that I really hope I don't run into in a dark alley. It's like,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I know I have some funnier ones, but just they escaped me because you put me on the spot.
oh, good. Becky, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you again for having me, Stephen.